Yeah.
Like it's 10 minutes from my studio, 10 minutes from my house, like that. So it works out really well.
Nice.
Okay, I will also, the last thing I'll warn you is I do very little research because I like it to be just like
I love
a
that.
conversation. So
Yes.
sometimes you're going to be like, why didn't you fucking look that up on the internet? I'm
No,
like,
that's for assholes.
Okay, goody. First of all, Steven Yeun, welcome to my show. I'm so excited. And everybody who's listening out there, now you know how to pronounce his last name.
Yeun. Yeah.
Yay! Because it is a little bit of, looking at it, it's like an odd spelling.
Oh, I mean, you know what it is? I think it has a lot to do with the exoticness of maybe my race on occasion.
Generally?
Yeah, in general.
Just Korean exoticness.
Yeah, you know, and also I think a lot of people are really afraid of being racist and they want to like pronounce it correctly.
So you feel like they try to add like an Asian flair?
Yeah, when it's like, it's just Yeun. It's pronounced phonetically Yeun. Yeah.
Yuen, I think.
Yeah, they go Yuen, or sometimes they go Wen. Or sometimes, and I, you know, my...
They make you Vietnamese? Nguyen?
Yeah, exactly. My Comcast bill says Steven Wen, spelled Wyew'n.
That's not
That's
anything.
just...
That's
not even how to spell it.
Yeah, so and I have butchered your name on occasion on the past, but not.
No.
I did not make you into Nguyen or.
Yeah, you didn't make me into a space creature.
No,
like, that's
no,
like space talk.
Why then?
Yeah, like I'm not like a grand wizard or something like that. It's ridiculous.
Oh, it'd be awesome to be a grand wizard, though. Now, right off the top, I want to say, and then we'll start at the beginning, that I was telling you right before we started that I had dropped your name on another podcast because I just did Daniel Day Kim. Now I seem like super racist because I was like, I interviewed another Korean guy and I dropped your name in it. But it was because you had said on The Talking Dead that like Koreans in Korea had like completely like adopted you.
Yeah,
But where were you born? Were you born here?
I was born in Korea.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But I moved over to the States when I was like 4.
Okay.
So, you know, it's a distant memory.
Right. But going back, it's interesting because I feel like specifically The Walking Dead is such an American phenomenon. And I don't mean phenomenon in terms of its popularity, but in terms of its tone and approach, it just feels distinctly American.
Yes.
More than something like, maybe even more something like a Hawaii Five-0, which I think is easily translatable to other cultures.
It's a Western. You know,
yes.
I mean, which is very, very, very American.
Right,
yeah,
right. It's so funny because I love zombie lore. I've never heard it described as a Western. I can't believe that.
That's Frank Darabont doing to shoot it on film.
Yeah.
To make the look be the way that it was, like he wanted it to feel like a Western.
Right.
It was like
the desolation of it. And also actually like the visual, like the color, the tones of the show is very how cool. Man, I wish that was my idea. So that being said, and just even like tonally and the dynamics, although Koreans do love the genre. I mean, they love gory stuff. I mean, like I'm a big Chan Wook Park, fan, and his stuff is super gory. There. So I guess I'm just curious, like, what? We'll start there. It was so interesting to me to hear you say that, going ostensibly back there, but really having not been there since you were a little kid. Like, had you gone a lot before?
So I went back maybe...
We're talking about South Korea, where they
South
have
Korea.
TV, not North Korea, where there's no lights.
Yes,
okay,
South Korea.
I made very light of the fact that the northern part of that peninsula is doing very poorly, but
Very
the southern
poorly.
part got TV and phones for
They
days.
got everything.
They got more phones. They got 5 phones. Everybody has 5 phones.
So
in South
the
Korea.
internet's so fast. So I went back, early on in my childhood just to visit family, and then I went back in in college. And then I hadn't been back until the show came out, which was like an 8-year gap. And so,
wow.
Yeah, I went to go see all my family. I have a huge amount of family there. My dad is the second oldest of 5. And
wow.
Yeah, my mom is the youngest of 9.
What?
Yeah, they had tons of sex.
Cranking them out.
Cranking babies out. Actually, it's really depressing because my parents were saying like the reason why they did that was because they figured that a lot of the kids might die.
Oh,
so
really?
Like, they wanted progeny. And it's like,
wow.
That's
well,
crazy.
I mean, that's a reality, I think, in a lot of most places, other than like this northern continent and a little bit of Europe, right?
Yeah.
But your parents aren't. They can't be that old, though.
No, I mean they're in their 60s.
Yeah, well, I guess.
Yeah, they're pretty old.
Yeah, no, not that they're old, but just that would have been the era, like right around like 40s, 50s, 60s.
Yeah.
Where kind of the idea of
totally.
Yeah, like child mortality was much more vivid, even here in the States. Absolutely.
And they grew up. I mean, South Korea in its what it is now. Happened in the last like 20, 30 years.
Like explosively.
Yeah. And so I remember going back as a kid and stuff was still very rural. And
Really?
then now you go back and everybody's got like smart, like flying cars or something.
Flying cars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I have flying cars.
Yeah.
Hoverboards.
Yeah.
Everybody has hoverboards in Korea.
And they're all jetpacks.
Yeah, jetpacks.
Fucking Korea. That's where all our shit is.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for my jetpack. It's in South Korea.
They have teleportation. They're just not letting it out in the
letting
U.S.
anybody know. I worked with someone who was in China, and he came back, and he's like, they have terabyte thumb drives in China.
Yeah.
And he showed one to me. And I went home and I told my husband, they have terabyte thumb drives in China. And he was like, you're a liar, and I'm not interacting with you anymore for the rest of the day. And it's true. They do have terabyte thumb drives in China. And the American technology companies are like keeping them out because they don't want you to know that you can get a terabyte worth of storage in something smaller than like a regular drive.
Yeah, I mean, to think like how far back we are technology-wise here comparatively is insane. Like I went to Korea just 2 years ago, and I had a flip phone that I borrowed, and I was like, oh, this flip phone's going to suck.
Right.
I would video conference while I was walking around the streets of Seoul on the flip phone.
That's
and that
insane.
had that was like a 10-year-old model.
Right.
And so,
well, also, that one thing that's happening with countries that didn't have kind of that early rudimentary infrastructure is they just jumped over straight to wireless, and they're just fully wired. I mean, what they're saying is like in Africa, people don't have indoor plumbing, but they all have cell phones.
Yep.
Because they're able to move. That's much more modular. You can just put a couple of cell towers in, and you're done. You're not laying cable.
Exactly.
Ooh. So you went over there now, and so how did people react to the show?
They're thrilled. I think what it is like, Korea has this way of really being a nationalistic country, as does actually every place.
Yes.
Maybe except for America. Sometimes America, you see a lot less
We're
nationalism.
polarized, right? There's like really extremely nationalistic people, and then
Yeah.
people who reject nationalism.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Whereas Korea, they're very prideful about anyone that makes it outside of the country. And the country's the size of Indiana. You know what I mean?
Right.
And
So
there's
that
50
nationalism,
million.
you really feel it.
And it's from an oppressed culture that has been really like
waiting for some shit to jump off.
Exactly. I mean, like Japan ruled them for a while,
Yeah.
China ruled them, and all that
Yeah.
occupation stuff. But so you see it now, and you go back, and they're very proud, and I'm very blessed to be able to be a part of that pride. I guess now I just can't mess it up. So
Yeah, because they'll turn on you in a second.
Oh, yeah,
They'll
yeah.
turn on you in a second. So we talked about this on the DDK episode, and that there was a guy. Okay, there's a rap group called Epic High. Have you heard of them?
Yeah, I know
Okay,
Epic High, yeah.
I love them. And one of the guys in Epic High went to school at Stanford, right? And he
Yeah.
got accused somehow of not actually having graduated from Stanford. And literally there were death threats against him, which here no one would give a shit if he went to
No.
Stanford or he didn't go to Stanford. But like he was getting like death threats, and he had to go to court to prove that he went to Stanford, which he did.
Yeah.
BT dubs.
Yep.
And it was like some jealous cousin that was mad that he was getting more attention than the cousin was getting.
It is. I was just talking about this with a couple of friends of mine who are also two of the writers on The Walking Dead, both Korean. So Angela King and Sang-Yu Kim. I was just
yeah.
talking to them about this recently, which is
Sang-Yu Kim is Korean?
Yeah,
You wouldn't be
Sang-Yu
able to
Kim-
know from the
yeah.
name.
Oh, Kim, really? You don't know? Oh, okay. But we were talking about like how the pride comes from when it's an extension of the whole.
Right.
So if the pride, if it's that it's someone that is trailblazing or someone that is getting recognition in an area that they're not commonly accustomed to, then it's like we'll take that on and it's amazing, and that's fair.
Right.
But when it comes to within the whole, and your success is rising above another,
Right.
you have to play it safe and be justified the entire way. Otherwise, it's like, why do you get to come up when I don't get to come up?
Yeah, and I mean, also specifically, I think around kind of public. I don't know. Is I'm sorry, I'm so many cultural questions. Is like saving face a big thing in Korean culture? Is it the idea of like, because you were saying now you feel like you can't screw it up, right? Like you can't make any mistakes, which I think is really difficult for an artist to be in a position, in a human being, period,
Of course,
right?
yeah.
But specifically an artist to be in a position of like, I can't make any mistakes, because first of all, from a creative perspective, you need to want to be able to take risks in your artistic life.
Sure.
But then in your personal life, this is not the most healthy philosophy, but I believe in it. I think as an actor, you need to be open, if not able and willing, but at least open-minded to having almost every human experience that you can.
Yeah,
so that you can
otherwise-
bring it into your work.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you can't just be like, well, I got up every day and I had a cereal at 5 o'clock and I drove to work and I came home, because you're just not like being human, you know? So how do you feel about that? I mean, it seems like it's a challenge.
Yeah, I mean, I try not to put that on me because I am American. The thing is like I was born in Korea, but man,
Yeah, you're an American.
I'm American.
Yeah.
So for me, I have a lot of pride in being Korean, and I have a lot of pride in being Asian American. But I work within the confines of my reality, which is America.
Right.
And Korea, if they like what I do, that's awesome. And I want to support Korea, and I want for them to support me, and that'd be great. But if it comes at a cost of my own liberal freedom to kind of express myself how I want, then that might be a point of contention.
Yeah.
But I think with the generation as it grows in Korea, it's getting more and more.
They're more exposed to the West, and the youth culture there is international,
absolutely,
so different.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it is not my parents' Korea,
right?
And it's really crazy because that's another discussion about how crazy it is for my immigrant parents, because they left in 1988 and they're stuck in 1988 because they're in stasis, because they don't know how Korea has progressed over time, and they're just stuck there.
So their sense of their own culture comes from that moment when they left, and it hasn't evolved.
No, because they don't know. So they've had that, and then it's a mixed bag of an immigrant culture in America.
Right.
So
when your parents came here, what was their approach to being American? Were they like, we're going to hold on very tightly to all of our Korean, beliefs and behaviors and cultures, or we're going to try to be more American? I
think my parents are pretty progressive, but we lived in a safer area in terms of assimilating with Korean American culture. So we had a lot of Koreans in our area in Metro Detroit. And so my parents didn't have to struggle as hard to be wholly American.
Right.
But there were a couple of kids that had parents that, were doctors or engineers that really wanted to take on the American dream of, like, having the extra summer home, going on vacation, having the 2.2 cars and like 2.5 kids and a dog and stuff like that. And that's well and good too. But my parents lived the whole immigrant, like, they own beauty supplies.
Really?
Yeah. So I know, me and my brother know a ton about, like, Yaki 10-inch, like, you know what I mean, like 1B, like all that stuff.
Oh,
like, we used to
God,
sell
that's
it,
awesome.
And so my folks still have those businesses, and if anything, their Americanization is much more rooted in, like, the heart of, like, Detroit.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, just kind of like our some of my dad's, like, closest people are his employees. We have one employee, his name is Tony, and he's been with us for God knows how long, and he's like the chillest dude. You know what I mean? And like, my mom and dad would make friends with, like, the local gang in the area, because it gets a little dangerous.
And, I was gonna say Detroit. Yeah,
it's not safe, but, like, my parents does well with its neighboring communities, and so, like, they look out for my folks and stuff like that. So that's where that's where they are progressive, and they are very Americanized in a way, which is like
outward looking.
Exactly. They're not thinking of others, and that to them, I think that for me comes from, at least for them, comes from a very like, strong Christian. They had, like, a very strong Christian foundation, and so my mom is always just on like, are you a good person? Cool, we're chill. Like, that's good. Yeah.
Did they bring that tradition from Korea, or did they become more religious when they came to the States?
They became religious, like, like 2 years after I was born, and then they moved to the States. Yeah.
But did it drive their move?
I don't know. I don't know why we moved, because my dad had a great job. He was an architect. And
wow.
Yeah.
And then he came here and he had to open a beauty supply?
Yeah, like, we came here and we literally went from, like, regular suburban chillin' life to, like, rags. Like, we had nothing.
Wow.
And so we were just, like, eating pizza every day and stuff like that. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so they risked a lot, and so now I'm wondering, like, what have they not told me? Like, did they commit some sort of
like
murder?
Fleeing in the middle of the night. Yeah.
Like, my parents are, like, secret spies or something like that.
Tell me what it was like growing up in Detroit. I mean, you said you grew up in a predominantly Korean. Okay, yeah. So you weren't at, like,
I wasn't in, like, 8 Mile, but I mean, I would go to visit, you know. But we grew up in, like, hoity-toity suburbs of Troy, Michigan.
It's so funny because I don't think anybody would ever use the word hoity-toity and Detroit in the same sentence. But everybody has an idea of Detroit that is both better and worse than what it's really like there.
Right.
You know?
I mean, Detroit, you go to the bad parts, and they're pretty damn bad.
Yeah.
It's bad.
Yeah.
And it has to do with the socioeconomic situation.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, like,
and everybody who can flee has fled.
Yeah.
And then what you have is people who can't get out, who don't have resources to get out.
Exactly.
And there's just no way to change things.
Then there's no support system to even live there.
Right.
So they're literally struggling because it's
there are
all
no
based
stores.
on
the
there's
cops
corner
don't come
shops.
when you call them.
Exactly. And so it's just a mess. It's a mess, and it's slowly changing. And I love Detroit because I think what you can't. The silver lining with how bad it is over there is that you get people with heart, like really good people with heart, and you meet people from Detroit and the Midwest, and you can't replicate that, you know, because like you need to have that type of suffering to like
you need to
understand,
have grit.
Yeah, and it's such a great thing that, you know, extends like you ask anybody from Detroit, and I'll be honest, like they go, if you said to them like, hey, would you want to go back there and live in the city? They might say yes, but they'll probably be like, I'm comfortable where I am. But they go, do you have pride for your city? And they will drop dead for their city, you know. And we have so much pride for our sports team, so much to the fact that, you know, you see like you know, the Lakers winning all the time, and you're like, that's great for you guys, but you guys live in LA.
I don't feel anything about the Lakers.
Yeah, like you guys live in LA,
like
and
they're
like
decorative.
Exactly, and if they win, it's like, wow,
great,
cool, stack it on with the others.
Yeah, totally.
If Detroit wins a championship, that boosts the economy of the city.
Wow,
you know what I mean? And it boosts the mood of the people because that's what we have to hold on to. And I remember when the Pistons won in 2007, me and my friends freaked out, and we took our couch outside and burned it on fire. We lit it on fire. You know what I mean?
I was like, that was not the thing that
you thought was going to happen. Like, yeah,
but it does seem appropriate for Detroit.
Yeah, we were just like, what do we do, guys? Let's just light this. Let's just shit on fire. And my brother was at that game.
Oh wow!
And he called me, and he was like, I cried because it's just such an emotional experience of like all these people who are like. They have to go home, and they have to go to their 9 to 5, and their 9 to 5 sometimes isn't that great.
Yeah.
And they have this one moment where a city comes together to be behind a team that represents them, and it's represented by people not like a flashy superstar, but like just a team, and like everybody plays their role, just like Detroit does. And they won, and they beat LA of all people, the people that had the flashiest,
right? The money,
and everything.
Ballers,
and so
absolutely.
It's like that gives me chills even talking about it. It's like that's the greatest thing. I love it.
And then you set your couch on fire.
Yeah, it's the logical next step.
Why wouldn't it be? If there had been a car, we would have flipped it over.
Yeah, totally.
We used the couch.
It doesn't bode well for our image, but it's fine.
Yeah, it's good. It's absolutely contextually appropriate.
Yeah.
When you were coming up, so, you know, I mean, obviously your parents came here, I'm assuming, because of the reason that most immigrant families come to the United States. They want to give their family a better life, better opportunities, and everything like that. What did your parents want you to do when you were growing up?
Well, they wanted me to be the quintessential doctor or lawyer.
Yeah.
And, you know, they wanted me to be a doctor really bad because our family doesn't have any doctors. Our family's huge, but everyone's in business. So my cousins are all iBankers or hedge fund guys, and they all are very successful. My one cousin, who is like the cousin, he's like
the cousin.
Golden boy.
Yeah.
And he is right now I think he's the president or like general controller of Nike China.
Wow, that's huge.
Yeah, he's like running Nike
because
China.
Nike is essential. Nike China is Nike.
Yeah, at this point, So he's running Nike China, and so it's like, cool, man. Like I tried, but I couldn't even catch up.
There's no way.
Like every time, like I got a show, and that's really great, and like they're really happy. Then as soon as that happened, he got made like general controller. It's like, all right. Cool, David Yeun.
Like, on TV, people.
It's like,
fine.
Oh yeah, I run a $1 billion company.
Yeah, I run China essentially. Yeah, fucking cousin.
So yeah, they wanted me to be a doctor. And,
yeah.
I didn't give it to them.
Yeah, well, you know, you got to do what you have to do. You have to do.
Yeah.
You have how many siblings?
Just one.
Oh, just your brother.
Yeah, my younger brother.
Were you on an intellectual, like were you always on an intellectual path, like or did you always want to be an actor?
I was always just a mischievous kid. Like I wasn't a bad student, but I was a very lazy student. The type of kid that would never study for a test and then somehow pull out like a B+ or something like that, you know, or like. I don't think I read a single book in high school.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah, I don't, and I just, as in like a book report.
I'm saying, I mean, like incredible evasive maneuvers that you could get out of all of high school without reading and not flunk out.
Exactly, but it's super shitty because I hope my kids are never like me because all I did was I just looked up Cliff Notes and then I would like summarize the book and then write my own overly verbose BS version of a script of a paper, and they were like, wow, these are good words that you're using, and they just give me like a B or an A, you know? And I basically coasted. And
I think the kids that struggle most in school are the ones that are behind and the ones that are ahead, because if you realize like I don't need to invest that much energy to win.
Yeah.
You know, those are the kids that either get so bored that they don't bother,
right?
Or you cruise and then you look back and you think, maybe I could have gotten something out of it if I put some energy into it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there were a lot of regrets when I first got into. Actually, somehow I made it into the college I wanted to get into.
Where'd you go?
I went to Kalamazoo College. It's like this small private school in Michigan, and it was great. It was a great school. It was exactly for if you wanted to get into sciences and stuff like that. So I got in and I did that, but I just remember thinking like even in college I had the same habits,
right?
You know, of just like I think I would only put effort into something if I liked it,
right?
And so I liked psychology, and I really liked clinical psychology, and I really liked studying the brain and all that stuff. And so that stuff I was like, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
But if you were to tell me like, hey, we'd like you to write this Orgo paper, I'd be like, hell no. Yeah. And you just procrastinate,
right? And did you? You were able to cruise?
Yeah, but you know, cruising in
college is not the same.
Not the same, and also cruising in college has much more terrible consequences. You know what I mean? Like, you're not going to get a job to feed your family in the future. Like,
exactly. So, something like I fucked up. It's like whatever junior year.
Exactly. Yeah.
Also, I had a similar experience in that. Like, I was like smart enough to kind of cruise in high school. But the workload in like I could blow it all off and then do it all in a night in high school. You know, you could just leave it till Sunday night and then just cram it all in like 3 hours.
Yeah.
You can't do that shit in college.
No.
Like if I missed a night of reading in college, I was behind for the whole semester.
You are exposed.
Oh yeah, your shit is over. And they'll be like, you didn't read the 375 pages I assigned yesterday? I'm like, I read 3 pages.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm now 1,200 pages behind in this class. And you're right. And then that's it. There's no... College is kind of like your last chance to like academically rewrite your history. You know what I mean? You get to start over from scratch, and however you fucked up in high school is gone. But then college is like that's the permanent record right there.
Absolutely. You know what though?
Unless you become an actor, and then
exactly. That's like a bunch of BS. Yeah. But I mean, the thing that I can take from college, and this seems to be a running trend, is that college teaches you how to learn, and some people have to go within the system of like go to college, send out your resume, get a job, and then or get an internship, and then move up.
Right.
And I think you realize like all these master's programs and doctorate programs are kind of like if you think about that, it's like what was the point of learning all this stuff in college? Like if you're just going to teach it to me, and then even then after you teach me how to be a doctor with all the knowledge, I still have to go on rotation to figure out actually how to be a doctor, because you don't learn anything until you're on the job. And I'm sure it's a lot harder than that, and I'm sure you do need that knowledge base, but at the essence of what college is to me, it seems like it's an experience, and it's how to integrate yourself into society effectively, and also how to manage like being a human being and,
on your own for the first time, right?
Right?
I mean, the first time that you have to meet your own obligations without anybody chasing you. I mean, even if your parents don't chase you in high school, the school chases you. The teacher's like, "Where's that homework? Where's that homework?" In college, you just show up at the end and you failed.
Yeah.
No one. You don't turn in a paper. In the college, the teacher doesn't call you.
Yeah.
That's like there was 20 papers on the fucking desk, and yours wasn't there, and so you failed,
You're
and
done.
that's on you.
It's
and
crazy.
it is the first time where you have to be self-driven,
right?
I think, yeah.
I mean, it makes no sense. Like if you think about how sleeping schedules work for humans, like they should have it completely flipped, where college you wake up for noon classes, and when you're in kindergarten you wake up for 5 a.m. classes.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
But obviously that doesn't teach you how to be a proper person in society.
Yeah, totally.
But like that's what I remember how tired I was in high school. And I'm like, why am I up at 7 o'clock? My baby brother is like chilling right now, and he has to go freak out, play with clay for like 5 minutes. Like I have to let me sleep. You know?
Yeah, and I think actually teenagers are like chronically exhausted. Like,
oh yeah,
right. Whatever their kind of nocturnal cyclical patterns are teenagers need like 14 hours of sleep or something like that.
And now with the invention, when I was coming up, there was like the whole IM bang boom came up, and it's like you're just on the internet chatting with your friends for hours. And it's not dumb because you're interacting
with people.
Yeah, I remember I lost a lot of sleeping.
Yeah,
due to that, you
had to IM,
and you had to flirt. You had to say stuff like, "Hey, if you could rank the 5 guys of our friends, like who's the cutest guys that you like?" And then I would rank the girls, and then obviously you have to put the girl that you're talking to in the
whatever.
in the list.
And then you revise that list depending on what girl you're talking to.
Yeah, so I was like, you say that.
A lot of work.
Yeah, I would fall asleep at the keyboard talking to girls all the time. So dumb.
That's hilarious. Were you a Mac in high school?
No, was I a Mac like?
Well, you apparently were IMing with girls constantly.
No, oh my god! I know you have that thing at the end, which is like self-inflicted wounds.
Yeah.
Get ready for some terrible romantic tales.
Okay, good. We'll save it for then.
I'm horrible.
We'll save it for then.
Yeah.
So you go to Kalamazoo, and you are. It sounds like you were pre-med.
Yeah, I was pre-med.
Mm-hmm. So what happened?
So
think of me, and I'm Mr. and Mrs. Yeun saying that. What happened?
What?
You were pre-med.
Yeah.
What happened?
While I was there, my freshman year, I saw this group, our school's improv group called Monkapult, and I watched it and I freaked out, and I was like, "Holy shit! This is the coolest thing I've ever seen. I want to do this so bad," because I was laughing and like they were so cool up there, and they looked like they were having so much fun. And I always had like a performance bug. I was mostly into music, but when I got into college, I was like, "Oh, this looks awesome!"
Yeah.
So I auditioned, didn't make it, and then I took a class on improv, and then I auditioned again, and I made it. And then once you're integrated into that system, like especially at a school, at a small school like mine, it was like 1,500 kids max.
Oh yeah, that's tiny.
To be a part of anything and to be taken seriously on campus, especially our Monkapult was huge. We would sell out shows every single time we'd have a show.
Yeah.
And so you're like a rock star there,
Yeah.
And it's like, I want to do that.
Yeah, totally.
And I remember making it, and I was so ecstatic, and we did that. I did that for the 4 years I was there, and I got into plays, and I did all that stuff just on the side. And my folks would come out to see, but they were like, well, okay. And my mom took me aside one time. I did this one play called Balm and Gilead, and I played Javier, the Colombian drug dealer.
Nice.
And she was like, I was like, "Oh, Ma, how did I do?" She's like, "Okay." She's like, "Yeah, this was all right." I was like, "Nice try."
Nice try.
And she's super blunt because like I probably was horrible in it. You know what I mean?
It's so refreshing though to have a story about a parent who was like, because you're great, you're always great, everything you do is perfect.
Yeah. No, they were
for
like
effort. She was like, yeah, it's all right.
My parents are still like that.
Really?
Like, yeah, I mean, like even my dad, he called me and he saw this last week's episode, and I guess he really liked one of the scenes that happened, the Herschel and Glenn scene where he asked for Maggie's hand in marriage, and my dad was like, "You did a good job. That I did not know you could do that." You know what I mean? He said it in Korean too. He's like, "Wow, that was nice. I didn't expect that."
Right.
And so I was like, "Cool." And it's cool to see that I can continually surprise my folks.
Yeah.
And that they will give me running commentary of
continual, right?
Yes, right.
Yeah.
And I hope that never stops. You know what I mean? And so, I mean, I did that, and then I remember I was studying for LSATs, I was studying for MCATs, I was going to take both tests, and I didn't know what I wanted to do. Everybody was getting jobs and everything, and I remember I actually wanted to do Teach for America because I was so confused. And that's like the plug all of if you can
absolutely.
get in.
You get 2 years, and they forgive a bunch of your college debt. So
yeah,
and you get to do something good,
right? And then it looks really good on a resume.
Great on your resume. Plus, a bunch of kids do it, so maybe you're all going to end up in the same city together, whatever. Yeah,
but it's incredibly difficult.
Yeah.
So
I haven't heard anybody who's like, "Oh, it was cake."
Oh my
Everyone's
gosh.
like, "I died."
Every person, like
my faith in humanity was lost.
So I applied, and I went down to like the final like meeting interview. And I remember them saying, like, "So is there anything that could take you away from finishing your duties of the 2 years?" And I was like, "No. I mean, except, like, if I don't know, like, became an actor, like, made it on a show or something." And I was totally joking.
Hilarious.
Totally joking.
Right.
And her face just turned off. She was
really?
Like, "Oh, okay." And I thought I nailed that interview, and I walked out and I got no letter. I got denied.
You got dinged. Wow.
Yeah. And my friend Ellie, who was like the controller of, like, he was a student like representative of Teach for America at that time. He was like, dude, that was like the easiest question. You just say no.
No, yeah.
That's all you have to do. You just say no.
And then shit happens down the line. You leave. Yeah, yeah.
You just say no. And I was like, I'm sorry, man. I just couldn't, like, it was a joke, but I was just kind of saying it.
Right.
And thank God I said no, because I didn't,
seriously.
you know what I mean? And then right afterwards, I asked my parents, I was like, can I move to Chicago for a couple of years, try improv? And they said reluctantly yes. And since then, it was just kind of like every year something happened.
So were you doing Second City?
So I got to tour. And, it was a really... That was for me, this whole experience and this whole thing that's kind of come my way in my life is very, to me, a blessing. I don't know how anybody else takes their careers or whatever, but for me, like, with my upbringing and a very Christian upbringing, like, I'm very spiritual in that way. And so for me, I kind of look at it as like it's not necessarily mine. It's not completely to do with me. And I've been very blessed to have whatever skill set I have, and very blessed to have the afforded the opportunities that I've had. But if I tell you how all this came about, like the little things that happened, it's bonkers. I remember moving to Chicago, and every step of the way, my parents were like, you can't move to Chicago unless you have a job. And so I go, okay. So I called this company, and they're like, sure, you can have a job. And then I quit within 3 months because I hated it. But that got me there.
That got you there.
And then I would ask a couple of my colleagues who were already there at Chicago, I was like, how long does it take to get an agent? They're like, oh, you're not going to get an agent for 2 to 3 years. It's not possible. It's it's so hard. And I remember I got there, in the first 6 months, I went to this panel that had all the reps in agencies in Chicago. And after the panel was done, everyone rushed the stage to give them their headshots. And so for me, I hung back because I was like, how am I going to get anything
fight
in
through
there?
that
It's like, this is stupid. So I was about to leave, but they turned off the house lights and turned up they turned off the stage lights and turned up the house lights. And it went off like one of those, like, just lamps.
Yeah.
One of the lamps went boom right over my head. And Vanessa Lanier, who works at Grossman Jack Talent, she's the head voiceover person there. She points over to me and she goes, you wait right there. And I go, me? She walks up to me. She goes, give me your headshot. I'm going to call you tomorrow. I was like, what? And so she called me tomorrow, and I got signed. And it was insane. And
That's crazy.
Right. And then so that happened. And then I was taking classes at Second City, and I would say, how do you get onto touring company? How do you get onto touring company? And people would say, oh, it's impossible. Nobody ever makes it on their first audition. Nobody ever makes it on their second audition. People don't make it for years.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay, well, if that's the case, I'm just going to do the audition and have fun.
Yeah.
I went in, and it's surrounded by a bunch of my peers who I respect.
Yeah.
And I put them up on a huge pedestal. It's like most amazing improvisers, and still to this day, in my mind, like the funniest people I've ever known.
Yeah.
And they're all there with me in the audition, so I'm shitting bricks. I'm like, what am I doing here?
Yeah.
And I go in there, and my improv audition goes all right. It does well enough to kind of get me to the next stage. And then we had this scene that we had to do, and I remember I did the scene, and it was a Steve Carell scene. And it was just perfect for me.
Yeah.
It was just...
You knew what...
I knew exactly what he was doing. Every ... every single sigh or whatever he wrote in there, I was like, I know exactly what to do with this. And I remember I was talking to, like, Ann Libra, who runs the training program over there and does all that stuff over there. And she was like, you had a really good audition. And that's not to say I was the best candidate, but I guess I shined in that one moment.
Right.
And so I got a call the next day being like, we're shortlisting you, which means you are on the docket of, like, people that we really like, that we want to put in. And so over the course of like a year and a half, I got put on a boat to do a boat for a little bit, and then I started understudying for touring company.
Wow.
And that was insane to me because I was like, where is my weight? You know? I was very thrilled.
Yeah.
But then what happened in 2009 was I was touring for a little bit, and I woke up that year and I was like, I think I'm supposed to leave. Because every single year my parents would be like, why don't you just give it one full shot in LA and then just, if it doesn't work, go back to school.
Right.
And I was like, there's still stuff to do in Chicago. I don't think I'm supposed to leave. 2009, I wake up and I just had this gut feeling, and I go, I'm supposed to leave. And so I told everyone. I told Second City. I told all my friends. I told everybody I knew. I was like, I'm leaving by the end of the year. and so I couldn't back out.
Right.
And
so you painted yourself into that corner on purpose.
Totally.
Yeah.
And I remember sitting down at Second City and talking with the people there, and they're like, okay, if you want to leave, I mean, you could still do stuff here, but that's your loss.
Right.
And I was like, okay. And I was just fully prepared to go. And I left. And I got to LA, and I was terrified. Terrified.
Yeah.
And I remember my first audition. I came out with a manager, and my first audition was for NCIS. And I walked in, and I got called back, which I was super excited about. The callback, my hand is rattling that paper so hard, and I have 2 scenes to do. I do the first scene, and they go, "Thank you very much. I think we're good."
Oh my God.
And I was so depressed. I go back home, and I was like, what do I do?
Also, that nervousness is the worst because it's uncontrollable.
Yeah, it's not even a part of you.
No, it has nothing to do with you. It has nothing to do with your thought process, or you can be saying 1,000 things to yourself in your head. I'm prepared. I know this. Whatever. It doesn't matter. No matter what is happening intellectually, your body is having a totally different experience, and you cannot do anything about it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's like when you're playing sports and you're like, why isn't my body doing what I'm telling it to do?
Yeah, exactly.
No sense.
Why am I not flying through the air and dunking this
exactly.
ball? But no, I know it, and I've had those things where, like, I had an audition once where it was like kind of an intimate, not sexual, but like a kind of a close conversation and with the reader, and my face started to twitch.
Oh yeah,
like
you could feel that too.
Yeah, and it was. I mean, it wasn't little. It wasn't subtle. It wasn't like you had to look closely to see that my lip was like. I mean, there was nothing to be done. I was like, that's the end of this audition. This audition is over because no matter how good my acting is, everyone's gonna be like, her face exploded.
Yeah. She had a seizure.
She had a seizure. She was having a stroke. We didn't know what to do. We threw her out and advised her to go to the hospital. But and your head, you're like, stop.
You can't.
And there's nothing. Yeah.
And what stinks though is that like. That's the hardest part of the job. Honestly, like actually doing the work because you're so free. Is so
because you
fun.
have the job at that point.
And I hope casting directors could know that, but how can they?
No, they can't.
They can't know that you won't be a total crazy ass on set.
It's interesting. I know a few casting directors personally, and what I have, and then there's some of them that are fucking assholes, like, and not just like accidental assholes, but like legitimately terrible people. Eat during your audition, answer the phone during an audition, are manipulative or cruel or failed actors, whatever it is that they've got going on. And then there are some that are brilliant, and they want you to win. They really want you to win, and they know what you can do, and they'll give you all the room to do it. They'll let you read 5 times. They'll let you go out of the room and come back. Whatever it is, they're like, I've seen this person do something transcendent, and I'm going to give them every shot to do that again.
Right.
And then there are the people in the middle who are just, they have a job to do.
They're churning it out.
And they're churning it out, and they may also be as kind of smart and brave as the people at the top, but they don't have the liberty either because of time, or they're like, look, I've got to make myself look good. I got to bring my director 10 great people. And if I'm worried you might shit the bed in the room later, I'm not even going to take a chance on you because it's a risk for me as well.
Because it's a business.
Yeah, it is.
That's where,
It's crazy.
It is crazy. I'm so bad at auditioning. It's not even funny.
God, I hate that.
So bad.
I wouldn't say that I'm good, but I don't think I got better at it until I legitimately stopped caring about the outcome of the audition.
Yeah. Once you're secure with where you are, maybe. I mean, that proves my point about like how ridiculous that Second City audition was. Knowing how afraid I am in general of auditions, I don't know how because I remember being on that stage vividly and holding that paper in my hand and doing the scene and literally not giving a single fuck.
Yeah.
Like I was like, I'm killing this right now, and I'm
probably part of it was that, again, like I think a lot of actors would say, if you walk in and you don't care, that's when you do your best work.
Yeah.
Because you're not invested in the outcome. You're like, no, it doesn't matter what happens right now. I don't have to be perfect. I don't have to figure out what they want from me because I'm not going to get it anyway.
Right.
Whatever that attitude is, whatever gets you to that. But it's either the 2 times are either you go in and you're like, I know this part so well, which it seems like you had a combination of those 2 things, which is I know exactly how to do this, or at least exactly how I want to do this.
Yeah.
And B, doesn't matter what happens because I'm not going to get it anyway, so I can go bananas.
Yes.
Those are the 2 mindsets that kind of where you have your best auditions. It's when you're like, if I get this job, it's going to change my life.
Absolutely. That is
rattling the paper. Yeah.
That happened. Yeah.
I've had so many.
So many times. I hate auditioning.
They're the worst. And it's it's funny, you start working and then you never don't audition. I mean, unfortunately, like everybody auditions no matter how, 5 guys don't audition.
Yeah, right.
I remember when they were looking for Man on the Moon and it was like everybody wanted that. You remember it was like Johnny, like it was the Andy Kaufman story. So it was like Johnny Depp and Jim Carrey and Brad Pitt. Everybody wanted that role. Sam Rockwell. And they all had to send in tape.
Wow.
Everybody, yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, it was like...
And Jim Carrey got it through tape?
Jim Carrey got it through tape. I mean, everyone auditioned for that. But, it was him, Johnny Depp, Brad Pitt, Sam Rockwell. Like, there were like 5 or 6 guys like on that level who all wanted that part.
Wow.
So you never don't audition.
Yeah.
But I do think once you start making enough money, and it's not about fame, just you're making a living.
Right.
So... And you've auditioned enough times that you know that no single audition is really going to end your life.
Right.
Like you have a million times where you're like, if I don't get this, I'm going to die. And then you don't die. And then you realize, okay, if I don't get this, I'm not going to die.
Yeah. You know, I think what it comes down to is like, if you are at a point where you start not even remembering how many auditions you failed. Because like, how people get advice, like you hear a lot of actors like, they'll be like, yeah, I heard this advice, which is like, keep getting up, keep getting back up. And that is true. But if you are not aware of you even getting back up, that's even a greater place.
That's where you want to be.
Because I failed a million times, but I don't even remember those auditions.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I don't even think about it.
It's they did. They just fade into kind of background scenery.
So for you, like it's almost like you're batting like 75%, which is incredible. But you're like, it's because you've blocked out the whole.
Right, you're really batting 25%, but you block the other.
You block the other one because you're like, I don't even want those anyway.
Whatever.
Exactly.
And there have even been times where I've gotten close on something and I didn't get it, and I was like, I would have been great, but I actually see why they picked that other person, and I think it was a great choice. Yeah, like it made perfect sense. Either one would have been fine.
Absolutely.
You're right. That just comes with time, right? Like a million. So you moved out here. You said you had terrible NCIS auditions, but you have some representation and you're living here. I feel like I heard you tell the story about how you got on Walking Dead, and I feel like it was kind of like a fairy Cinderella kind of thing. Okay, so tell that story.
Okay, yes. So after I got back from the NCIS audition, super depressed. So I just slept all day.
Yeah. Oh, that's the
worst. And I didn't know how to.
It's a good thing you're not an alcoholic.
Yeah, right.
I feel like, and then I
couldn't even afford alcohol if I wanted to. And so for me, I was like, how am I going to live? Because I don't want to ask my parents for money. Like I always do, and this is bad. And so I remember I went to Google Maps and I Googled restaurants in my area. And there was this restaurant that popped up. I called them. I go, are you guys hiring? They go, yep. And I went in that day, and they gave me a job the next week.
Wow.
And so I got a job. And like that, for me, is like a huge blessing. Just to be like, I have this every day to keep me occupied in between
a place
auditions.
To go, put my energy.
Exactly. And so that kept me alive. And then I booked like 4 commercials just straight in a row.
Oh, wow.
And it was crazy. I was like, wow, this is going really great. And then the turn of the new year came, so it was my first pilot season there, and I auditioned for my first pilot, and I didn't have any theatrical representation. I just had my manager. And he got me into this ABC audition, and I went to test for it. I got to test.
Wow.
Yeah, it was nuts. And so they were like, hey, you're going to get paid this much because they're doing your contract.
Fucking tests. They're the worst.
Hate
they're the worst.
Hate them. Because they entice you.
You're already naked and in bed with this person, and you haven't even met yet. You know what I mean? It's like that. And we talked about it a little bit on the show, but for people who don't know, there's this process where they winnow it down to like the top 3 or 4 candidates for a job. And then before they show you to the network, they make you sign a contract so that if they pick you, you can't then go back and renegotiate for more money. Like, well, now you want me, now I want this.
Right.
So there's this huge negotiation process before you even audition, for your final audition, where you're talking about how much money you're going to make, not just in your first year, but in your 5th year, what your bumps are going to be, what your trailer's going to look like. And you don't even have the job. And so in your head, you kind of already do have the job.
Oh, yeah. You're spending that money in your head already.
You're like, well, I'm going to get a car, and I'm moving to a real apartment that doesn't smell like pee. All your dreams. And because even a shitty network job pays more money than you've ever seen in your entire life. I mean, even the worst ones still would change everything for you.
Yes.
And you're, for all of us, I remember vividly before I ever got any work here, like I would get a cash advance on one credit card to pay a different credit card. I would just move that money back and forth.
Exactly. So you don't have to pay the interest.
Yeah, interest fee, just move it around. I mean, I was so broke. So it's really emotional.
Yes.
And you don't want the job on an acting level. You want the job because you see exactly what it's going to do for you when you get it. And
changes. Money talks hard.
And it's on paper. You see it written out, and you're having 15 conversations with your representation. Well, we got him up to this. We're trying to get you this. It's terrible.
It's horrible.
Oh,
and
my
so
God.
for me, I'm like,
And this is your first test?
First test. My first pilot audition.
Oh my God.
And I went to test. And I went and did the studio test.
And you audition over and over again for several people. It's like a litany of people.
So many people. So I went to the studio. I went and did a work session with the director. That went well. Then I went to the studio, and the studio was like, cool, we like him. And then I went to the network. But each time there's like 50 people watching you in a small room.
Faceless.
Yes, and you're terrified.
Oh, it's so scary.
And so I'm sitting there like, oh my God, what do I do? But I was so confident that I was going to get it because the contract made me think that I was. Yeah. Because I didn't know about the industry.
And it feels like a done deal. We have a signed contract. This is a formality at this point. Yeah.
And so I walked into the ABC audition, and in my opinion, I killed it. I killed it. They were laughing. And I walked out and I was like, yes, I got it. And I was so happy. And I told my parents about the whole process, and they're thrilled. I go home, and then I go to Denny's, and I'm eating like pancakes.
Oh, yeah, party it up.
Yeah, party it up. You know
Celebrity.
what I mean? Yeah.
Woo!
And I get a call from my manager, and he's like, we'll get the next one, buddy. Oh. And I was destroyed. Oh. Not so much for me because I was pretty bummed out, but I was mostly bummed out because I told my parents about it.
Right,
and it was my validation for putting them through 4 years of hell, you know.
Right.
And now I couldn't give it to them. And so I was really bummed, and I never thought about quitting, but in that moment, which is so stupid, I thought, like, I was close to being like, man, is this what I'm supposed to do? But I freaking got there and I tested for my first pilot.
Like, what an asshole so human, thing though. To do. Yeah. It's so human because there is something. Look, neither of us are down in a mine. You know what I mean?
Exactly,
like, but there is so much. I feel like it's different than getting any other kind of job, and that there's really an element of it that's a judgment of you. Yeah, really, you personally. You know. You cannot get a job because someone else has had more years in the business, more qualified. They type faster. They've driven a truck longer. Whatever it is, acting is the only thing where someone can be like, "We just didn't like him. Yeah. We just don't like you as much as we like the I don't like his face. I don't like his face. I don't like his voice. Whatever. Not hot enough. Too hot. Too tall. Too short. Whatever. A judgment of something that you honestly." Probably most times can't change. You can't do anything about.
And also, like, those judgments are there just because someone wants you to say something. Like, it's not even like you really care if they're too tall or too short. It's just kind of like, what do you think? Well, I don't really care, but he's too tall.
Yeah, he's too tall.
You just make shit up.
And, and I've been on the other side of that because I had a pilot that I cast, and what I learned and what freed me a lot as an actor was that we had a lot of people come in, and some of them were terrible. You know, some of them were great. Sure. But when we got down to like the 3 or 4 guys that tested, they were all great. Yeah. They were all great. Right. And the guy who got it just got it because everybody felt like he was the guy. And it wasn't that the other guys weren't the guy. That was the thing. Like they all would have been fantastic. Yeah. In the end, we were all like, yeah, he just kind of was. There was an essence of him that seemed more like what we had in our heads. Right. But any one of the guys would have killed it.
Or it's like you just got to make a decision. Yeah. And we made it.
Yeah. We're like, everyone was like, and everyone's like, oh, yeah, that guy was great. They were all really funny.
Yeah.
And that freed me so much as an actor because what I realized was I'm just going to go in and I'm going to kill it the best I can. Yep. Either they're going to want me or they're not going to want me.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But that's something you do not know when you're first going out, and what you think is, I could have done something different. I could have been better. I could have practiced longer. I could have dressed differently. Nah.
If you've gotten to that stage, you did fine.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. If you tested, you won, essentially, right? You made it to the Olympics.
Exactly. Yeah. You just didn't finish first.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is fine. You still went to the Olympics.
Right. 1% of 1% of 1% of people make it that far. Yeah.
And so,
it's devastating, though.
It was hard. So I remember calling my dad, and my dad was just like, okay, that's cool. Sorry. And
he wasn't like, oh, too bad for you. You should try harder.
Yeah, no. He was just like, he was so bummed that that's something I do now, though. I tend to not tell my parents about anything because their disappointment is so much worse than my own disappointment.
No. Like, because you've been through it a million times, so
I
get it. Write it out.
Like, whereas for them, like, they're not disappointed at me. They just want it for me. And so if I don't get it, like, they're just like, they're so bummed.
She's the worst. I mean, not the worst, but she's the worst in the sense that she's like, well, I just feel like I should call someone.
Yeah, who can I call? Let me call Jay Leno.
Yeah, let me just call Steven Spielberg.
Yeah,
is he listed?
I'm gonna look his name up on this Google.
Right. I bet you I could find an address for him.
Yeah.
Who's this agency? I'm like, good. But, they see something in you that nobody else sees. They're your parents.
Of course.
And they don't understand quite how things work.
Right.
And it is hard to share. You want to tell them when some shit's about to air. You can see me at 8 o'clock on Tuesday night.
Yes.
Other than that,
let's just leave it chill.
Yeah, totally.
We're fine. Yeah. But it's crazy. So that didn't go. Mm-hmm. And then Walking Dead happened like 2 months later, and that process was so fast. I walked into the casting directors. They called my agent like 30 minutes later and said, we really liked him. We'd like him to come back tomorrow. I went back and I worked with them. I worked with Sharon Bialy. She was fantastic.
Oh, she's great. Yeah.
And and Sherry Thomas, and they were just like working with me, and it's like
those are those like that 1% of brilliant casting directors who understand actors and like them. Yeah.
Like her, like Deb Aquila, like they're awesome.
Deb's the best. Yeah.
And so like they worked with me, and then they go, all right, you're gonna go to Frank's office, and it's Frank Darabont in his office with his tiny camcorder, being like, hey, he's the nicest man, and he just has someone reading lines with me while he's taping it and directing me, and I'm like, this is nothing like those ABC auditions. Right.
Those terrible Mills.
Horrifying.
Yeah.
And I booked it.
Wow.
And
Now you do the session with Frank.
Mm-hmm.
How long after that did you hear you'd booked it?
Like 2 days.
Oh.
Yeah, it was quick.
Yeah.
2 days. I think they almost. I think it was like. Yeah, I don't know. I guess the audition went well.
Yeah.
And they booked me, and it's nuts because obviously you know this, but people don't know this, which is like, if I would have booked that pilot, the ABC pilot, I would not have been able to audition for Walking Dead.
You would, even if because I'm saying, so pilot season happens like January to like April, and then they announce shows in May, but they have an option on you essentially through the end of the year, even if the show didn't get picked up. So they could just hold on to you even if the show wasn't going to go, and you wouldn't have been able to go out for anything else. Or you maybe could have gone out for Walking Dead, and they would have had to put them in second position, and Walking Dead would have been like, we don't want him. Second position is when essentially a show can use you unless the other show needs you, and then they have to give you up. So you
get cards stacked against you.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
So these things magically aligned.
Mm-hmm. And ABC didn't even go past pilot, and Walking Dead is
Walking Dead. The Walking Dead is The Walking Dead.
I mean, I am so lucky.
Oh, it's so great,
really
though.
Crazy, yeah.
It's the greatest story ever.
Yeah, so that's why for me, like, I don't think, I don't want it to make it seem like, I'm putting myself down, because I'm not. It's pretty much just now I'm waiting to see, I've been afforded a very, very awesome opportunity, and it's like, how do I do this thing right? Like, what do I do with it?
Right.
How do I make it better or make it for the betterment of something? Or well, I'll figure it out. I've yet to figure that out.
The way that you're thinking, most people aren't thinking in those terms anyway.
Well,
know what I mean, they're just like, bitches and cars.
Bitches and cars.
I'm going to get some bitches and put them in a car. I'm in a car full of bitches. So the fact that you're thinking in that way is you're already on the right path.
We'll see. I might need to get a car full of bitches.
Car full of bitches? Who doesn't want a car full of bitches?
Yeah.
I want one.
I want a bitch in every seat.
I'm going to sit in one's lap while I drive. Now, I have 1,000. I am a Walking Dead super fan, so we have to do this now.
Yes.
We have to do this right now. The first thing I want to know is, when you got the job, the series, had the show already been ordered to series?
It had been 6 episode ordered for
Which
pilot.
was that first that first season was 6 episodes, right? Because you come in just at the very end of the pilot.
Voice, yeah.
What scenes were you reading? I mean, I knew it was going to go, so you knew, like, did you know anything about your character's arc? Did you know how important Glenn was?
Yes.
Okay.
I had read the comic before.
Okay.
So,
before you auditioned?
Yeah. So that's what was crazy to me was, as I was auditioning, I was reading the script, and I was like, this sounds familiar. And I was like, holy shit.
Shit!
It's the comic. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I wasn't like a crazy diehard fan.
Yeah.
But I had read the first 2 books of it.
Yeah.
The first 2 volumes, like, because I'm into comic books.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, this is great.
Yeah.
And I remember it. I remember during the audition, I was like, oh, shit, I need to read all of this now.
Yeah, I need to know. Understand who
So
this,
I got the compendium, and I just read the whole thing.
Yeah.
But
I was on a series, and I don't even know why I started reading the compendium, and I'm trying to think of what it was about. But I remember going and getting the compendium and like bringing it with me on set and like reading it between takes when we on turns and stuff, and finishing the compendium and then flipping the fuck out because I was like, how do I get the rest of the books? What do I do? Like
I flipping the fuck out like because of the
not just because it was
so dark.
So no, not that I'm dead inside. No, but I was like, because I think I by the time I finished 50, the books were up to like 80, and I was like, in Canada, and I was like, how do I get these? What am I I'm going to die. And I put on the internet, and then people were like, you can buy the Image app, and you can buy them all, and I bought them all, and I read them all.
Wow.
And, you know, the books are super dark for people who haven't read them. They're very dark. Darker than the show. Which is funny. If people just know the show and don't know the books, they think the show is dark, but the books are way darker. But what people love about the show, if they're able to articulate it properly, which some people aren't, but I can because I'm smart and thinky, is people just love these characters and need them to win so badly.
Yeah.
And one of the characters, I'm not going to spoil anything for people, but I am going to put a spoiler alert at the top of the show, and I'm going to put it on the internet. You're going to learn some shit, and if you don't know it already, then don't listen. Like the two people that I fell in love with, well, three, so deeply in the books, were Glenn, Michonne, and Tyrese. And I want to say something brilliant about Glenn, but I'm just going to say I do think that Glenn is probably like number one fan favorite, even
in the books.
In the books, yeah. So it's. God, I'm just fanning out, and I'm not really asking you a question.
No.
I guess, okay, so I guess the first question I have, and then I'll go back to fanning out, is like, having read the books, did you feel, this is a TV question, it's not a podcast question, I apologize, it's not a very good question. Did you feel any pressure playing him?
Oh, yeah. Oh, I was like, holy shit, like, if I mess this up, I will have the wrath of all comic book nerds on my ass
everywhere.
So hard. And those are the guys that are on Twitter.
Right,
you know what I mean?
And they don't sleep. They're just Redditing at 3 in the morning.
Oh, yeah. They're the ones like being like, you ruined this character for me. I had a perfect idea of what this character was supposed to be. And, you know, that's a testament to casting, I think.
Yeah.
That's a testament to overall the direction that, you know, Kirkman and Frank and Gail and everybody took with it, and Sharon and Sherry, like when they cast, because you look at a lot of the characters, and if not all of them, and all of them just have that essence of their character.
They do.
Yeah, and for me, you know, what I related with Glenn was like, this kid is me just set 10 years back. And so I just had to play it like, what was I like when I was like 15, like coming up and like really strong, bullheaded, but at the same time scared. Really wanting to be taken seriously, but at the same time like reluctant. And so that's what I played. And for them to give me the arc was awesome. Yeah. To slow play that build over the course of 3 seasons and have Glenn grow in this 3rd season was for me like,
oh, Glenn's a badass now.
Great blessing. Yeah. I mean, it's awesome because it's relatable, you know, and even, you know, I don't even want to get into political end of it in terms of being an Asian American, but it's like, I'm just glad that I can look the way I look and play the parts I play. And that's, and you know, it's, I don't know if I'm changing America or if the show's changing America, but it's helping in terms of being like, oh, hey, look I can see an Asian guy and I can relate to him even though I'm not Asian. Right. Because he's American. Right. And I'm American. Right. And that is like the coolest thing to me. That's fucking rad.
It is. It's fucking rad. Yeah. It is. And, you know, I think it's new. You know, this is the last time I'm going to draw parallels with another actor, but when I was talking to Daniel Day Kim, one of the things we were talking about was that Asian characters, especially the men, tend to A, be marginalized, and B, be desexualized.
Sure, yeah.
And that Glenn and Maggie are like the only sexy couple on the show, but they're crazy hot. Like, you got that awesome sex scene the other day, which was so great. And you just never see that. It's always the Asian guys, like the analyst or the lab technician or the business guy. And that it is unique. It really is unique right now, you know, that Glenn's character is uniquely American, really fully formed and complex, that relationship is really satisfying. Not perfect.
Yeah, not
you know
perfect.
What I mean? Flawed,
exactly.
and
Absolutely.
Glenn is flawed.
Absolutely.
You know, and that it's really multidimensional in a way that it's been rare for any actor of color, and especially Asian actors. I think it's really something that's very new and very radical.
Yeah, even that's great that you brought up the flawed thing, which is like maybe it would be like a liberal guilt thing to throw like a bone to an Asian guy and
just
be
have him
like,
on a side piece.
yeah. Or even like make him like perfect.
Right,
like,
right,
hey,
right.
you are the smartest guy. You're also the most handsome. You're also the most tough, and you're also this. And he has no human heart about him.
Right.
Like he has no like. He makes no mistakes. I think that would have been not just the same, but very akin to just making him a thing. Like he's an object.
Yes.
He's just a shadowy figure.
Yes. Yeah.
And what's great is like, I was when I first started doing the show. Like, I remember I would search tweets, and you search on Twitter. You search like Asian Walking Dead, or you search like even like Chink Walking Dead.
Oh Jesus!
And it comes up.
Yeah,
it comes up a lot in the first season.
At least they could get their Asian slur right.
Yeah, right. Like exactly, good because right. Yeah,
exactly. At least.
And the first season, tons, and that's how bad the status of like perception in American media was. Like for them, they're like, oh, I just that's what I call them. Like,
right.
That's
like
you're
not even really trying to be racist. Like,
they're
I like the chink on the Walking Dead.
Exactly. Yeah. I was like, holy shit. And I wasn't surprised. I actually expected that.
Yeah.
Second season, drastically lower. More people calling him Glenn. Third season, you'll be hard pressed to find Chink Walking Dead. Maybe like the guy is actually.
Well, there's that one guy who's just an asshole.
He's from like lower New Jersey.
Team Merle.
Yeah. But you see Glenn, and that's cool because now they're not thinking of like what does he look like.
He's the Asian character. Yeah.
They're thinking of this is a character that I enjoy, and so for me, I'm very fortunate to play a part like that.
I think your character is also one of the few characters, other than Rick and Carl, who are actually following a path relatively close to the dynamic in the books. Glenn's arc on the show has been much more dynamic, bigger, stronger, more intense, more complex than the books. But I was so excited. Okay, spoiler. I was so excited because this week, when there was the proposal episode, and I remember when the scene came on, Glenn was looking for the ring. I was like, oh shit, this is from the books.
Yeah.
I was like, I think this is something that happened in the book, and I was really excited about it. And it's still what's been great being someone who's read all the books and has watched the show is that the show is as satisfying as the books, but in totally different ways. You know what I mean? I don't feel like I'm watching what I read. But what I need from the show as a reader, I'm getting. Yes. Do you know what I mean?
Like you get those mileposts.
Yes.
And you get those like nods, and you get like the tipping of the hat to the fact that we are based on this great book that Kirkman wrote. But then you have Kirkman also part of the show, and it's
and I asked him because I had him on the show, and he's like, no, I'm getting to spend time with these characters and give them an entirely different new life. I love these people, but I'm using them in different ways. And he said to me, it's an opportunity to tell the story, do things I would have done differently the first time where I love the way I did it, but now do just something totally different.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I really think what's been so great is that the show is so bleak. So something I love about The Walking Dead, about the books and definitely about the show, and I say this all the time, I love post-apocalyptic fiction generally because I feel like what it examines is like what it means to be human. Yeah. And when you're living in a structured society where there's rules and there's things and there's cell phones and computers and a coffee shop and cars and rules, right? Some of which make sense and some of which don't. Your behavior is very circumscribed, and it's really driven by like your relationship to other people in a societal structure. Yes. But when all that stuff goes away and literally your goal is to stay alive, human behavior really changes. It becomes very basic, right?
It's sometimes so ugly.
So ugly, right? Because we're animals and we're trying to stay alive, trying to survive. Like literally in the way that dogs battle and bugs, scurry. We're just another living thing trying not to expire. And we think of ourselves as being very noble, right? But when you watch The Walking Dead, you see characters doing things that are reprehensible, but contextually make perfect sense. So, two things that I love about the Glenn character is that, and Glenn's path, is that he's essentially been in a lot of ways, without being not moralizing, he's been this kind of human core of the show. Glenn is essentially good. And he's also in love. Yes. So he's like preserving this like very delicate, this aspect of humanity that's really fragile.
Yeah.
And when I saw this episode, I just like, it's so funny. It's like got so immature. I was like, oh, Glenn and Maggie, because there's just so little delight in that world. That's not a question.
And no, that's not a question. But actually, this is a great thing that I actually wanted to talk about, which is, I remember I was looking at the Twitter feeds, which I should not do.
No, don't look at Twitter.
Yeah, but it's just for fun.
I know. I do get it too. I'm acting like I don't, but I always look at it all day long like a drug. Like what do they say now? What do they say now?
Exactly. But a lot of people were upset that Glenn didn't get down on one knee to propose to Maggie.
I know. Well, okay, no, I'm stop talking. Go. Sorry.
Oh wait, no. Why,
I want to hear it. No, I just want to hear what, because I want to hear what you have to say.
And for me, when Lauren and I were talking about the scene, and also when Greg was directing the scene, like we wanted to play it like that because, getting down on one knee is a traditional route that you see, and it's romantic and it's television, and you want to see what you expect to see, but there's so much power in that moment of being like, listen, we've talked about this. There's no way that Maggie and Glenn have not talked about getting married in their asides when they're sleeping together or whatever. And they're probably saying like, wouldn't it be cool to get married? But, we can't because the world's gone to shit. And then you realize like you have to operate in the functionality of this new world. And even then, Glenn still tries to maintain some semblance of tradition by asking her show.
That scene is fantastic.
Thank you very much.
Oh, it was so well played.
That was a fun scene because one, Scott is awesome, and it was just it was just
wonderful.
Thank you, and it was Glenn still wants to be traditional, but at the same time, look where he got the ring.
Right,
he gets the ring, and in that moment, I wanted to play it like. I wanted that moment to sit, and I don't know if it's there if you watch it, but if you watch it, like, I wanted to play it like, thank you, Walker, for this ring. I'm trying to preserve this old world because this ring means nothing. Right. It really does. In this new world, it means nothing. There's no value to it.
No, I mean, it's everything that imbues with value has to do with like current societal structure.
Exactly.
It's meaningless in a lot of ways, even now in this world. Right. You know what I mean? It's just like a marketing campaign from a diamond company to get you to spend money.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like it could just topple on itself.
Right.
The things that's necessary in The Walking Dead: food and protection and shelter.
That's it.
And he takes it and it's a moment of him being like, man, I just stole from this woman who's dead, but actually I'm lasting the legacy of the old world by maintaining this thing. And so when he goes up to Maggie and he puts that ring in her hand, she already knows what's in the hand. And there's no need for pomp and circumstance to get down on a knee and say, hey, I love you. I've loved you from the very moment. That would have been romantic, I'm sure. But I think it's much more powerful for them to be in that one moment and be joined together because that's what Glenn and Maggie are. It's not, Glenn, let me protect you, Maggie. And because he learned that lesson already. It's how do we fight in this world together?
Yeah.
And so it's a mutual understanding of you and I are together and this ring is merely a token of this one moment that we have together, and we're saying we are a one unit. And that's it, because right after that we got to go prepare to go to war,
potentially to die.
Exactly.
And even if you guys weren't preparing to go to war, the sense that it could be you could be married for an hour or a day or a week, that's the reality, is that it could be tomorrow, it could be a month. We don't know how long we have.
Yes.
So pomp and circumstance doesn't mean anything. It's like, I love you, you love me, we're a team.
Yes.
And
let's
let's express that to each other and then have as long as we can have together.
Right.
Yeah. It was beautiful.
Thank you. But it takes that explanation, which is not upsetting, but it's like you realize that like at the end of the day, like as much as like we're trying to tell within the confines of this really dark reality, sometimes people just want to see their TVs.
Yeah. They just want to see flickering shapes.
You know what I mean? They just want to see like exactly like they want to see romance, and there's nothing wrong with that. But honestly, I bet if we would have played the scene, I'm down on one knee and I say something, there would have been a whole other contingent of people being like, that was corny.
Right. Or people would have been like, how can you get out on your knees? Someone may be shooting at you. You pay attention. Yeah. The other scene I love between you guys was, my other really favorite scene was, you guys came back from a raid, or maybe it was when you were clearing the prison, and you went into your room and you took off her shirt and she said, "What are you doing?" You said, "I'm looking for scratches."
Yeah.
I just remember that being the best single moment of like the interior of a relationship. Being like, you know what I mean? Like just like two people caring for each other, like in a really pedestrian way.
Yeah.
That's really the interior of a relationship. You know what I mean? And I think that's part of, what's been so compelling about Maggie and Glenn is like, we are going to protect this tiny ember no matter how fucked up the world is, but we're not blind to who we are and what is in front of us.
Absolutely. That was a scene that Glenn Mazzara added, and like what a perfect tone to that thing. And
I think I actually like five-backed a couple times and watched it twice or three times. Just it was, those little flickering moments, there's so little caring on the show too, and that's not the show, that's the world.
No,
Rick is a mess. He doesn't like. When's the last time he interacted with his baby?
Oh man,
I mean, he's a mess. He's a mess. But he's a mess in the books. I told Robert, I said, Book Rick is a dick.
Yeah, Book Rick is a dick.
Book Rick is a dick. TV Rick is a but befuddled, and now it seems like he's starting to get a sense of like he's starting to come around, which is great. But who wouldn't be crazy or a dick in those conditions? And so that's another reason why Glenn and then Glenn and Maggie have been to me like so compelling.
Cool.
But you can't turn them into a bride and groom figurine on top of a cake.
No, I don't think. I think to pervert them by saying like they're the lasting bastion of hope and they're comically outside of the world that they live in, it doesn't make sense.
No.
Like you got to make them, you got to make them realistic to that moment, which is like they live in shit. They're about to die.
About to die. Every day they're about to die. Every day they wake up and they're like, this could be it. Thank God they got laid. That was so great. I was like, you better do some fucking before it's all over. Because I mean, that's the other thing. Like when you're human, there are just very few basic needs that you have.
Right.
And very few of those needs are being met in the prison. I mean, everybody's dirty, everybody's hungry, everybody's terrified. It's just nice for there to be moments of humanity in those spaces.
Yes.
Now, I'm going to ask you one more question about the show, and then we're going to move off of the show. But the question I have about the show, and then we'll get to Self-Inflicted Wounds, is there was a really funny thing on one of the Talking Deads, and it was about, I'm sure you saw it, it was a thing about going to work and in the South, and what a day is like what a week is like on set. And it was like Steven shows up on Monday, sweats gallons, collapses, shows up on Tuesday, drinks 17 Gatorades, collapses. It was something like that. So what is it like shooting that show? Just practically. Because it's all real. I mean, are you guys are there any sets at all?
There's sets for the prison, but
right. Are they built, or is it like a location that
they're built?
Okay.
At first they were gonna do actual prisons, but it would have been a camera nightmare.
Right. Just you can't move walls and okay.
But honestly, somehow they made it just as realistic, because the first time we shot when we were just clearing out the prison, they pumped the place full of like smoke and dust.
Right.
A whole gang of us got like really sick.
Wow.
So we're coughing up black sneezing up black for days.
Oh my God.
So it was like,
hey
man, you thought you guys were out of the clear? You were
in
the clear?
Right. Finally we're on a set. You're like, ooh, air conditioning.
Here's some asbestos.
Right. Just to make it spicy.
Yeah. You want some lead? Here's those all lead pipes.
We brought in lead. We brought in some lead from outside.
But it's I'll be honest, like I think there's going to be a case study done on us maybe in like 10 years, and I don't know, maybe we'll all like have gout or something. I don't know, something crazy, like we'll have boils on our cheeks or something. Because it's bad. Like after every season, all of us get sick for about a month.
Really?
Yeah. Because
from exhaustion?
You're exhausted and you're holding in a lot of like tension and stress, and you're emoting so hard. And I remember I was talking to Denise Huth, who was one of our producers, and I was like, man, when are we going to get like a moment to not cry?
Right.
Like, every second is insane.
Yes.
And it's because like, the seasons take place over the period of like a week or two.
Right.
It's not like we're sitting there for months.
Right.
Because there would be time to show that we're chilling.
Right. Any leisure time of any kind. Yeah.
So it's a compact situation that's happening. And so it's just shit after shit after shit after shit. And you're there doing that emotionally. And then you're also standing out in like 100-degree heat. Sweating your ass off. We all lose at least 10 pounds every single time we're shooting.
Wow.
We go in a little plump, and then we all end like super
super
thin.
lean. Yeah.
And it's that's what's great about it, though. It's that you put yourself through something like that with all your comrades. Everyone's so tight. Everyone is so wanting for this to be so good. And everyone's so supportive. And, we complain as a cast like, oh, it's hard. And it is sometimes hard because we have to sprint. People think like when you see a episode where we're like running, you think that we're doing that once. Right. We're doing that like 18 times.
Oh, yeah.
And you have to be conditioned enough to do it 18 times.
In the heat. And hit your marks be in character.
Exactly. And not be bonkers insane. But as much as we do have those days, the crew, I mean,
it's way worse for them.
They're top
because if you're an actor, you get to go like relax in the cool, and maybe there's a tent with some AC, or you get to sit in a car and someone brings you a glass of water. There's like some fat guy with his shorts falling down, and he's been out for 18 hours, literally about to die, literally on the verge of a heart attack. Yeah,
and like they've gotten bitten by tons of ticks and like velvet ants.
Oh, Jesus Christ!
Did
you get bitten by something on the show once?
I got bit by a tick.
Yeah? You found a tick?
I found a tick on me.
on your junk?
On my other guy, yeah. It was terrible.
Good times.
It was horrible. I freaked the fuck out.
I would too!
Yeah.
Oh my God!
And I burned that.
You didn't just kill him, right? You made him suffer.
I let him run around for a little bit, and then I was like, "Oh, you think your life's good still? Like you're still alive? I'm gonna burn the shit out of you."
You think you're just gonna run away with a mouthful of my blood?
Yeah. Oh, you're done. Especially on my knob. Like, why would you go there?
There's so many things I could say right now that I'm
terrible.
Just not gonna say.
Terrible.
But that's terrifying. That's terrifying.
What was terrifying was how good his grip was.
Really?
Like I could hold the tick by its body,
right,
and also hold me up.
Oh,
like, I could puppeteer myself.
So, and that was happening.
I just tried it out for a little bit. I was like,
just to see,
like, well, let's test out, like, if I need to puppeteer.
Yeah, I don't even need to report back on it later.
Yeah,
like, here's my experiences. And if I ever need to enter puppetry of the penis side,
wristwatch,
wristwatch, Christmas bow, Christmas tree, their little pinchers get in, and you're supposed to like twist them off.
Yeah.
Or did you get some advice from somebody?
People say you're supposed to burn them off, but you're not supposed to do that because if you do that, they might throw up back into you. Which is disgusting.
Oh, Jesus Christ!
Yeah. And that's where the Lyme disease and stuff and the bacteria comes. So you're supposed to get a tweezer and like pull it out from the face.
Right.
Out.
Right. Oh, shit.
But I didn't have time for no tweezers. I was getting that shit out ASAP. And so I got him out, and then luckily he was still alive. So I was like, okay, I got everything. I just
and then you went governor on him. Right. Strapped him in.
I was like, you picked the wrong dick, my friend. You picked the wrong dick.
That's the best story ever. I also, this is the last thing I'll fangirl out about. Because you were talking about the idea of doing, people watch something on a show and they feel like, oh, they shot that and then they moved on to the next scene. I always love when someone comes to visit you on set.
Yeah.
And in their head, they think,
explosions.
Or they think the show takes an hour on TV. It'll take an hour to tape.
Yeah.
We'll just go from scene to scene like a play.
Yeah.
Right? And you're like, no, we're going to spend all day making 4 minutes of television. Maybe 4 minutes or maybe 45 seconds, one or the other, all day long.
The best part is they're like, dude, of course we want to come. I'm like, are you sure you want to come? Are you kidding?
And you warn them. So boring. It's going to be so boring. And,
they come and they're like, dude, this is great. And I'm like, how you guys doing? Like, I think we're going to call a cab. They were gonna call a cab. Man.
We like, did you guys get some? Yeah, we had just craft services. We had some M&Ms. That occupied us. It's 9:45. We're done. It's so
whatever
boring.
They think is so fantastic.
So
you're sitting there doing nothing.
No, and we have to be there, right? But the rest of them. But I do remember that you were talking about the well scene on the farm and how difficult that day was.
That was gnarly. That was like a 10-hour day of me hanging like by my crotch.
Right. And were you in a harness?
Yeah, so I had to be in a harness that wasn't that couldn't look like a harness,
right?
Because it would show through my clothes,
right? Because you're supposed to just have a rope tied around your waist, right?
Which is ridiculous.
Yeah, and also quick way to get your back broken,
exactly.
Yeah, or fall out of it into the disgusting well full of a dead animal, dead
absolutely.
human being body. Yeah, yuck.
But I hung by what was a seatbelt refastened as a harness. Around my groin area, like all day.
Jesus Christ!
And for me, it's like you don't want to be. You don't want to be like a wuss about it, so you just go hard every time. I went hard every time, and it was a gnarly shoot. But it was cool because the thing that they built a well that was outside. So like they built a 20-foot tall well.
Oh, okay.
So that they could shoot up into it.
That's right.
And,
right,
down.
yeah.
And so like you look at the ingenuity that these set deck people have, and like it's fantastic and incredible. And like the camera situated, and then you look at the zombie that Nicotero created.
That big fat zombie that broke in half.
What the hell,
dude?
How?
Well, how does he sleep at night?
He sleeps so twisted,
right? He just like frozen in place like a death grimace. And every week I'm like, well, like just because the last couple of weeks have been like curb stomping zombies and knocking zombies' teeth out with rocks, and then there was they slammed a zombie's head in a car.
Or what about
back
Michonne
hatch?
Took the wire and like
and just cut the zombie's head off with the wire, and it's been intense the last couple of weeks. It's been like, I think people complained season 2 didn't have enough zombie action, and now we got zombie action for your ass.
Now they're like, maybe you guys tone it down.
Maybe could we have some characters talk? Remember when they used to sit around a fire and talk?
Some more picnics.
Remember that time when they had a fire and they had some stew, and then somebody sang. Remember she sang that song? It was nice. So the show shoots 6 months a year.
Yep.
What do you do with the other 6 months of your life?
You
guys are done now. You're wrapped, obviously, because next week is the season finale. So
we're wrapped. We wrapped in November.
Oh, okay.
And so I go back for the holidays, see my folks, see my friends, see my family, and then I try to keep busy by I write a lot, so I'm doing my own writing, and then I jumped into a different project in the hiatus.
Oh, good.
Which was good.
You have a nice long hiatus too, so you can explore other things.
It's surprisingly short though. Somehow.
Well, if you get off in November and you let's say you just take December and January just to recover, you guys go back in June.
And basically, we get to be there by late April.
Oh, so wow! Really so no, it's not that long. Yeah.
Yeah.
And what did you jump into? Can you talk about it?
I can't.
Okay, that's fine.
But it was like an indie film that's shooting in New York, which was really fun.
Oh, that's great.
So
it's great to get paid to live in another city, right? And have an experience.
That was the coolest.
Yeah.
Yeah. I always loved New York, and any chance to get out there and live there is awesome. Yeah.
Well, I wanted self-inflicted wounds, but I don't always do. I'm really working very hard on formulating a better way to ask this.
Yes.
So I don't have it yet. But it's something about, when you have something on that's working, and Walking Dead is working in a very unique way.
Sure.
I mean, I know that, shows can be hits and shows can be, well watched, but The Walking Dead was a show that like nobody thought was going to make it on the air, and then nobody thought it was going to do as well as it has, and then nobody thought would build the way that it does, and now it essentially is like, if it's not the number one show on TV, it's like right up there, right? I mean, it beats like all of NBC's like scripted line. It's a crazy fucking show. But there are hit shows that are not creatively meaningful shows. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so what's unique about this show, or a show like Breaking Bad or Game of Thrones, is that it's also a great show for an actor. It's you know what I mean? It's you really have work to do, and you probably don't have work to do every week.
Yes.
But when you get work to do, you get real work to do, like real character-driven, emotional work, which is, I'm not going to mention any other shows, but I've done shows where you like come in and you were like, the guy did it with the pipe in the library, and here's his DNA, and that's fine. Those shows are big hits, but they're not challenging for actors. So, very long-winded, non-question, but it's something about, and you talked about it a little bit, about thinking, what am I going to do with this? You know what I mean? And I don't really know. The old shitty question was like, what are you going to do? Or what do you want to do next? Or what do you but that's not the question. I guess it's more like, do you think about, and I think you do, like, what an amazing opportunity this is.
Oh, yeah.
Which is not a lecture, like, I hope you know what you, but more like, know as an actor when you're on something and you think this is a job, and I know when as an actor you think you're on something you're like, holy shit, this is unique.
It's crazy.
Yeah. And I guess I don't know what the question is. It's something about, like you were saying, you feel like you want to frame, what you want to do with your time and your energy when you're not doing the show in the future.
I mean, for me, it's that.
Also, you came out of comedy, so you're on this big drama.
Yeah.
Do you miss comedy?
I love comedy. I still do it on my own. Like I go improvise on the weekends, and I got to do an episode of NTSF SDSUV.
Oh yeah,
so
that's awesome. That's so many. That's a really long acronym.
Yeah, really.
So many letters.
But I mean, the stuff that I'm writing is mostly comedy, and that's what I'm saying is that, like, I guess to answer kind of your question is, like, I know that where I'm at here is so absolutely fortuitous and, in my personal opinion, very divine and blessed. So now, I don't take it as like, I deserve this. This is mine. Like, nobody can take this away from me. Like, I got this on my own, because I didn't. I didn't get this on my own. So if that's the case, now I have to figure out, it can't purely be for my enjoyment. Right. You know what I mean? It can't purely be for, hey, look, if you believe in God or not, like, for me, I do, and it's like, God didn't, like, say, like, hey, by the way, I'm gonna make your life freaking rad,
right?
And you're gonna get
not that guy's, yours,
exactly, right. And so now it's not even talking about, like, oh, I have to do a bunch of charitable works or something like that. It's just more like, what am I gonna do with this, like, this opportunity that I've been afforded, and it's to. For me, what I'm taking it now is, I'm not thinking like long term of like, I need to build this or I need to build that, but it's more, since I have been afforded this opportunity, to never take it for granted, and also to kick its ass. Yeah. And that's where I'm at this point. That's how much I've figured out at this point. I don't know anything beyond that. And so for me, I've been very lucky that I've had really great people supporting me, the writers, to write awesome things, and for me to take everything seriously, so that when they do get something written for me, it's I dissect the crap out of it, so that when I show up, I'm never the guy that's slowing it down, or the guy that's making it difficult for everyone. Rather, I'm the one that's trying to enhance it, and take it beyond what it is, and that's what I want to do at this point. So after that, we'll see. Yeah, who knows me, but at this point, it's just like, take what you've been given and, man, just put it to like 150%. That's not a real thing you can do.
No, it's not. It's not a real thing. It's
maybe
not
like
a number.
100%.
It's like 100% is pretty much like all you could do. Like, not even 101%. Like, you can't do that.
But
either.
You could try. I mean,
you could try. It would just be a lot of 100%. It would be all of the 100%.
Yeah. It's like getting 300% of vitamin C.
So you can't do that.
Can't do
no,
that.
you can't. You just get 100%, and then after that,
you just pee it out.
Yeah. You pee it out, and that tick got a mouthful of vitamin C, and then he learned his lesson. Now, I said it was going to be the last question, but I want to just underscore what you said, which is, I love the idea of going hard, because I feel like, and I'm not going to beat up on actors, no, but I feel like there is that attitude is so. First of all, you're on a show that's very physically challenging, and I just did something where I was like, it was a location shoot, and the director was really far away, and he had a note for me, and I ran, and he's like, you don't have to run. I'm like, I'm not going to be the fucking person who makes everybody stand around for 10 minutes while I get a note. Yeah. You know what I mean? And it's a very different attitude towards the gig. You know what I mean? Which is I'm never going to go home and think I could have gone harder. I'm never going to lay awake. If only I'd put a little bit more in.
You don't want to be a diva.
No.
Like that to me, that
it doesn't earn you anything.
I hate that word.
Oh. And it doesn't get you anything. Like, waiting for shit to come to you never gets you anything.
Nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a waste
Absolutely.
of time.
Yeah, that's exactly how I am, which is like, show up, get there on time. Yeah. Try to. Maybe I'm a lazy person sometimes, but get there on time. Yeah. And then when they say, hey, we need you on your mark, get on your mark. Yeah. And people are busting their ass harder than you. Yeah. There just are.
For less money.
For less money. Yeah. And they are. And so you can't show up and say some lines, not to say it's not easy, or not to say it's not difficult.
Yeah, not to diminish it, but yes, I know exactly what you mean. But it's like, you can't show up
for work. Like, that's your job. Yeah. Like, do your job.
And if you don't do your job, other people can't do their jobs. It's not like you can show up in your cubicle and just like worry about your own shit. Right. But if you don't show up, 100 other people don't get paid. Like, the arrogance of that, I don't understand at all.
And also to think like, you are taking something that literally millions of people would kill for.
themselves, cut off a limb.
Right. And you're just being like,
Herschel the fuck out of themselves to come.
Actually,
Herschel themselves.
Herschel themselves.
Right?
Like, guys, I could do this one-legged, I swear to God.
You don't even have to do an effects or anything. I will just chop this off.
No, please don't do that.
Right?
You don't have to
no,
do that.
It's okay.
No,
but I want to do it. I feel like
we don't
a
need to do
method.
that.
It's really, super method. Okay. Do you have a good self-inflicted wound story that you're
I have so many embarrassing tales of. I'll tell a quick one and then I'll tell a long one. The quick one is just quintessential who I am, which is I'm very hard on myself and very prideful in my own way. So I remember I was young and I was playing basketball and I was shooting free throws and I was trying to make 3 in a row. I wasn't very good at basketball. I was just trying to make 3 in a row. And I kept on getting to 2, and then I couldn't make the third one. And I did it for like over 30 minutes. I got so frustrated, I took the ball and I threw it at the pole of the basketball hoop. And just like karma does, it came right back at my face and broke my glasses off my face. And I was bleeding from my nose and bleeding I got cut on my forehead.
Yeah.
And my blue nerd glasses were on the ground shattered because I did it to myself. That's what I get.
You did it to yourself.
I did it to myself.
That is the essence of a self-inflicted wound. I mean, that's it.
But
to yourself.
That kind of stuff happens to me all the time. Like the moment that I gloat or get like super like intense, like I deserve this.
Yeah.
Something in the universe, maybe God, maybe karma, like knocks me right back down real quick. I remember I was playing football and I caught this diving catch, and we were really intense into football when we were in high school. I caught this diving catch and I was like, yeah! And I spiked the ball on the ground and I was like, yeah! And my brother is the first person to call me out when I do stuff like that. And he's like, all right, that was weird. Like, chill out, dude. Like, you caught a pass. And the next play, I tore my ACL.
Oh, no!
Yeah. That's what I get. That's what I get.
Oh,
yeah.
That's awful.
It is awful, but
yeah, right?
it's
that's
okay.
Like that's surgery. That's
surgery,
not like...
yeah. I guess it's not tit for tat, but it was...
Yeah, you gloated and then 6 months of...
Just bring it back down.
Yeah, just
bring
take
it back down.
But, good job for me.
The big story is, I think what humbles me the most is how terrible I am with women. All the relationships that I've been in have kind of just happened organically, which I think is the best way anyway.
Like friends and something natural,
But whenever I try to force the issue, it is like straight out of some horror comedy movie, relationship rom-com. I remember I was doing this boat for Second City, and there was this dancer girl, and she was really cute, and I was like kind of into her. And we were there for like 2 months, so we're like chatting and stuff like that. And I'm so bad. Oh, this is so embarrassing. But I was like hanging out with her, and it was going well. And we're like chatting here and there. Nothing happened. And one day I was like, "Hey, do you want to come to my room and watch a movie?" I was like, "Yeah."
Yes.
So we're in my room and we're watching a movie. And what happens is like if you stay past a certain time, like 12, you can't be seen out in the common area because you're not supposed to be in the common area. So she could have gotten in trouble.
And just employees of the boat.
Employees of the boat. And so she had to stay over. And I was like, okay, that's fine.
Oh, too bad. Oh,
too
that's too bad. I set my clock ahead and now it's later than it is.
But my problem was the beds were on either sides. So there was a bunk bed situation. It was like a tiny single and another tiny single on the other side.
So two like individual beds that across the room. And you can't push them together, obviously.
Right. Yeah. And so I... this is so embarrassing. So we just started to go to sleep because I did pussied out and I didn't make a move.
Right.
And I was like, oh, this is so dumb. And so I was like, gather up your courage. And so I got up. And then I sat next to her. Oh my God, this makes me crazy. It's one of those.
I'm rooting for you. I am so rooting for you right now.
I sat next to her, and she was like, "Hey, what do you do? What's up?" And so a week prior, we had been hanging out in like the common area, and while my hand was like holding onto this rail, like her hand was also on this rail, and like she put her hand on mine and like just left it there, and I was like, "Whoa, that's cool." Yeah, but then she like moved it, and I was like, "Oh, okay, it's on."
Yeah. So I think that's a perfect indicator that it's on.
But to my doom, it is rarely ever the case.
Oh no.
So I'm sitting next to her, and she's lying down. I'm like, "Hey." She's like, "Yeah, what's up?" And I go, God damn it. I go, so last week when you put your hand on my hand, when I put my hand on the pole, and you let it linger there for a while, what did that mean something? And she was just like, I don't even remember that.
No!
And just, that's how dumb I am, because honestly, what is so stupid is if I would have just kissed her, it would have been
made
fine.
a move. Yeah, but then she had to think about it for a minute.
And then she's like, this is weird now. It's like, I'm sure maybe I thought about it in that moment, but like now it's weird.
Yeah.
And like now I don't want to.
No.
And like, I'm not going to, she's like, I'm sure in her head, she's like, I'm not going to be the one to make a first move. That's weird. And so I did that. That's what I do. I'm the guy, a long time ago, I don't do that as much, and I don't do that anymore, but like a long time I'm the guy that says like, hey, can I kiss you right now? And no girl wants that.
And she's like, wait, let me check my calendar.
Yeah, right? And like, and that's the most unromantic thing you can do. It's like, can I kiss you right now?
Yeah.
We were about to kiss. You didn't have to ask me.
Yeah, we're also like an inch from my face.
Exactly.
I haven't punched you in the nuts yet, so I think it's going to be okay.
Exactly.
Oh, no.
And God.
You know what? You're polite.
No, I am a pussy. That's what that is. That is.
No.
No.
Has being on a hit show made you more brave?
No.
No?
No, actually, you know what? It's a little bit more difficult now because now you got to sparse through maybe
You do.
some crazies.
The problem with it is, I mean, if we're just being perfectly blunt, is you get to a point where people they know you and they're attracted to your character or they're attracted to an idea of who you are. So, like, you don't have to explain yourself per se.
Yeah.
But you have no idea what these people's motivation is.
Right.
And this, not the sad thing, because that's kind of a strong word, but the frustrating thing or the stymieing thing, I think, is you have a very hard time trusting anyone because you just don't know where they're coming from.
Right.
And it's hard. I mean, I don't know about you, but like I really want to not move through my life suspecting everybody of everything.
Yeah.
But your circle actually gets smaller rather than larger because
or you start hanging out more with people that are doing the same things you're doing.
That are peers
because they get it or whatever.
And you don't have to explain yourself, and they don't need anything from you. And
right.
which is a bummer because right when you should be getting a car full of bitches, right, like maybe the car full of bitches just wants me for my money.
Yeah, well that
and
too.
My nice car.
Or like then you're suddenly more attracted to the girl that doesn't go for you,
right?
But at that point, they just don't like you, so. You're fucked. Like, you know what I mean? Like, either take a chance on someone that you don't know whether they like you or not, what reason, or go for the girl that isn't gonna like you anyway.
Right.
And there's the other side of the coin, which is like, you will run into some people who assume that you think you're hot shit.
Right.
So they're
even shittier towards you.
Yeah, because
or
you're like,
even any behavior that would be normal under any other circumstances, they take the wrong way.
Right.
Like you're in the supermarket and someone says hi to you. Not anybody you know. A stranger says hi to you, and either you don't hear them or you don't react.
Yeah.
And then like, God, that guy was a dick.
Yeah.
Well, maybe I'm just in the supermarket. I don't know you.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm like, what? Yeah. But literally, it could be like you're on the phone or you have your headphones on, and then all of a sudden, like it's a grand incident where like, wow, that guy's such a dick because he didn't respond to his fans. When you're like, I don't even what happened?
Yeah, I'm buying some quinoa.
Yeah, delicious quinoa.
Quinoa's good.
It's very good.
I'm buying some celery and quinoa.
Celery and quinoa. I'm going to make a healthy salad. I know people who are listening to the show and who are fans of the show are wondering about like the creative. The captainship of the show. You know what I mean? That Frank was in the first season and he exited. Now Frank just left. And I don't want to put words into your mouth because I'm not there, but I'm curious what your take on it is and what the take of maybe the actors has been on the show. Because I also think that like, in so much as you have some control over your interpretation of a role, you don't have control over the direction of the show.
Sure,
and I'm wondering about like what happened or what your take is on what happened on, whatever you're comfortable sharing.
Sure, yeah. With the first shakedown, that was tough on the actors a lot because Frank was the guy that got us there. He was the one that picked us. He was the one that started the ball rolling on the thing. And nothing to take away from Kirkman or Gale and Hurd, but Frank was the forefront of that.
Right, and the visionary, the guy who optioned the book.
Exactly, the guy who made the calls to make it on film, to make the tone and set all that stuff up.
Right.
And so when he when he left, it sucked. And honestly, I don't know the top details because it happened above us.
Right. How did you guys hear?
We heard they came to set and they told us that was going to happen.
Before Comic-Con? Because I remember that at Comic-Con, right after Comic-Con.
Yeah. And so, it got a little bit more dicey because they were like, why didn't you tell us before Comic-Con?
Right,
And,
right. And didn't he go to Comic-Con?
He did, yeah. So, it got a little ugly. And I don't know exactly how or the reasons why, but, what happened.
Right.
And it's not to say that, one person was evil or one person was wrong or anything. I chalk that up to minds not being on the same page, and that's essentially where it came down to. And then Glenn came in to kind of fill his void at that time, and it was great. Glenn was great.
Glenn's a great guy. Yeah.
He really put it in a very. He listened to the fans too, and he also kind of took the reins on making it a very exciting, super powerful, faster paced show. And he made his indelible mark on this show, and that's what's great.
Right.
With that, again, don't know exact shakedown of everything, but that again, it was down to maybe the minds weren't on the same page. And I don't think that this is a continual thing that AMC, the people at AMC, and I'm not even saying this because I work for them, but just because I met them personally, and they want the show to be good. They want the show to be a success, and they want the show to have a long life and for it to be what we all want it to be.
Right.
And so for them, if they make a move, maybe people won't agree with it, maybe some people will. They're making a move for the betterment of the show, in my opinion. And so, it follows along with the hiring of Scott Gimple, who is a fantastic writer. And
was he on staff and he moved up?
Yeah, he was already on staff, and he wrote some of our best episodes of this season and last season. And that isn't without question, to me, it makes me feel better about whatever shakedowns occur, because you look at Scott, and Scott is someone that shows up and loves the comic, loves the show, knows what direction he wants it to go, and he's already there to really take it forward. And I think if I could break down how the seasons go, the first season was kind of the tone setting season of just this is the show, get ready for a ride. Right. And second season was a tastefully done slow build, but really had great had overall, if you look at the whole thing,
it paid. I feel like people were frustrated about there not being a zombie action did never really understand Walking Dead in the first place, and it paid so well. I remember that when Sophia came out of the barn, I was like, this is worth everything that has come before. Absolutely. Everything that happened with Shane. That stuff paid, and you needed the build to make it pay the way that it did. Yeah, absolutely.
And then third season is kind of like your action-packed season of just really setting the tone of the evil that exists within this broader scope of reality. And so, there was a lot more action, there was a lot more gore, there was a lot more crazy things that happened.
Conflict.
And it was minute by minute, real fast paced. So I think that's what attracted a lot of people to come into the show. And we had the most viewership that we've ever had this season.
It's been crazy.
And so I think the fourth season might be our taste making season.
Ooh.
You know what I mean?
Right, because maybe now you've got the security of you never want to sit on your laurels, but the idea of the show is people love the show and it's working, and maybe we can take some risks and we can
of really showing you and opening up this world and telling you a gorgeous, lush story. And if you're invested already in these characters, get ready for an awesome ride. And it's just a whole part of this roller coaster that is the show. And I think for the show to repeat itself every season over and over and over again, it might work for the first 2, 3, 4, but then after a while people are gonna be like, this show is crap.
Right.
And so you need to kind of have these ebbs and flows and show that this show can be completely dynamic and rich, and that there's so much more outside of this one little scope that you've been seeing. So, I mean, again, it's sad to see anyone go, especially the person who's running the show and making the decisions. And I loved Frank. I loved Glenn, but I also love Scott. And those decisions aren't on me.
Right.
So I'm just glad that they pick someone that we know is going to put it in the right direction.
Yeah, I mean, in the end, that's all you care about. I think that the scariest thing when you're an actor is being like, oh my God, no one's running this thing.
Exactly. And you're like, you're getting scripts, and you're like, what is going on?
Yeah, what's going on? What does this mean?
Exactly.
Yeah. What am I going to do with this?
Right.
Especially something that's not a procedural where, every week you figure out who did it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like this, you need someone that's on the reins at all times.
Yeah.
So it's good. We've had every showrunner make their indelible mark on it, and so I'm just excited now.
Sweet. Thanks for doing my show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This is awesome.
Yay!
Yeah.
That was awesome. Thank you so much.
Of course, this was a blast.
Really.